Hi, I wanted to talk about the death, the sad, tragic murder of a young 17-year-old boy in Akron, Ohio named Ethan Liming. The fact that his murder took place on the grounds of the I Promise School associated with LeBron James is what's bringing this case attention. But what I'm really hoping and praying is that the attention this case gets around the world or nation helps catch who killed Ethan Liming. Let's talk about all the updates, everything I've received thus far from Akron police regarding the case. It was Thursday, June 2nd when this happened. It was around 10:43 p.m. according to the incident report that police sent me. The incident type is a murder homicide, and we are going to talk about the cause and manner of death for Ethan in a second too. I just feel ever since I heard about this probably Friday, June 3rd, it was so upsetting when you hear the details. You just get this feeling of wanting to be sick. He's a young, beautiful, handsome young man. He was very popular. He played football, baseball. He was about to be a senior. Ethan did not attend the I Promise School. That apparently goes from 3rd grade up to 8th grade, I believe. It's an elementary school. Ethan attended Firestone, which is like a high school, Firestone Community Learning Center, and he was set to become a senior. I like that they call them senior leaders instead of just students. They pour a lot into the kids. I still call them kids there. The fact that a bright shining star was taken away is just unimaginable, and already I hate to see the narrative that's being drawn around this case because it is LeBron James' school where it happened. LeBron has called to pray for our community, the whole world. Unfortunately, I see some people running with a sad narrative, but one thing I can tell you is black, white, whatever race, people are grieving the loss of Ethan. I mean, no one more, of course, than his family, and we will talk about what they've written as well. There was a murder and a felonious assault. Apparently, Ethan arrived at the basketball court, and you'll see the footage courtesy of the YouTube creator I've linked to below. Thank you for all this great footage. We see the setup of how it looked. Of course, this was light outside, but when they pulled up, it was dark. Beautiful basketball courts. You can see why kids all around the city would want to go over there and play basketball on a nice spring, almost summer evening. They are already out of school, so what better way to entertain yourself? Unfortunately, this night some type of evil was in the air, and we're going to get into details about rumors going around. Of course, the streets are talking. People are hoping that the perpetrators are arrested and caught any day now. The suspect in this crime on this police report that I received says unknown at this time. I'm recording this on Monday, June 6th, and we just got information about the cause of death being blunt head force trauma. His name is Ethan David Liming. Handsome young man, well loved by students. There have been prayer vigils. People have sobbed and they've been heartbroken over this young man's death. Unnecessary. We'll get into the rumors and the controversy and what's being said around Akron about this case. I won't list what I've heard on police dispatch or, names of others who were there with Ethan as his friends when they came there. We heard rumors about a little bit of horseplay and all that between Ethan and his friends when they pulled up. We didn't quite hear the details. What did they mean? What horseplay? I have a little insight on that. We'll get through this incident report and talk about that. Apparently, Ethan and his friends were just going there to probably shoot some hoops. Ethan's dad said they may not have been shooting hoops that night, but there were guys already there, and Ethan's group got into some kind of altercation with the other group, and it ended up with Ethan dead. He was 6 feet 1 inches tall. He weighed 165 pounds, so he had that nice, teenager slim build, the way those teens can usually eat anything and just not gain much weight. Blue eyes and brown hair. Ethan was a white male. Unfortunately, race is playing into this case already, and I'm hoping and praying that doesn't escalate. I think everyone here, no matter what race they are, wants to see justice for Ethan Liming. The reporting officer on this case was Officer Lockhart. The report says that Officers responded to 400 West Market Street. That, indeed, is the address of LeBron's famous I Promise School. It was in reference to a fight and an unconscious male in the parking lot. Looking at these videos, you can see where the parking lot is in relation to the basketball courts. They kind of sit off the street. Beautiful courts, beautiful. Unfortunately, upon arrival, officers found Liming unconscious and not breathing. So even though in the 911 call that we're going to take a listen to, one of his friends or a couple of his friends are trying to ask, is he breathing? At that point they say yeah, but there's a whole lot of brouhaha going on. It sounds like they are inside the car and it sounds like the perpetrators are beating on the car trying to get to these other guys there. So it was a lot of kerfluffle going on. Liming was evaluated by EMS. He was pronounced dead at 11:05. If the first call, I think there may have been 2 911 calls. I've only heard one. I could be wrong. If that call was the one that came in around 10:43, 10:45-ish p.m., and if he was already dead 20 minutes later, I don't even know if they had time to move his body. I don't think they did, and we'll get into that as well too, even perhaps from the parking lot at that point, to pronounce him dead. The medical examiner took jurisdiction, so I'm waiting on additional information that I've requested. Body-worn camera, again, 911 calls. I've already poured through the dispatch. We'll listen to that as well. Beautiful young man, looks like he was number 12 on the Firestone Falcons football team. Just so much life ahead of him. Only 17. Man on the Moon, one of his Instagram photos is captioned. That was just from March 8th. 2021. You may have read what Ethan's stepmom Cindy wrote on social media. She thanked everyone for their thoughts, their prayers, their gas money, food, love. She said, if you didn't know, my stepson was brutally beaten to death at the I Promise School in Akron, Ohio on June 2nd. We do not know who did this, she wrote. She said, we will never be whole again, but if nothing else, the murderers, yes, more than one, she wrote, have to be found. His killers are still out there as I type this, she wrote. Everyone keeps asking Cindy what they can do, so here it is. She said, share this post, hoping that whoever did this will speak up or people will speak about it. You know, they need help to find out who did this. Anyone with info is asked to call the Akron Police Department. The numbers are listed. And also remember, you can always text Crime Stoppers. So some people, they just don't want to call. I get it. You know, there's anonymous ways to report tips. So look for links to all of that below. Get your rest, my boy, and a heart. That's what someone put on social media, and they put like a crown on top of Ethan. But let's talk about the 911 call, and let's also later touch on some rumors.
Akron 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Oh, we're at King School, or no, we're at the I Promise School.
So the first thing we hear on the 911 call is more than one person yelling. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Ethan arrived with 3 other friends at the I Promise School. So I'm not sure if only 2 of those friends are still there and one is already left, or if all 3 are there. You hear the caller in his, hurried fear say, hey, we're at the King School. Now, King is a different school where it's right off of this Memorial Parkway street. Beautiful. They have beautiful basketball courts there too. So I could see why he would just for a second think, I'm at King Elementary, when he was really at the I Promise School. Then he corrected himself and he said, we're at the I Promise School.
In Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Our friend just got knocked out.
In Akron, Ohio, and he said, our friend just got knocked out. He sounds calm enough to get the information out. I'm not sure if he's another 17-year-old like Ethan, but one thing you will hear is the calmness, but the fear in his voice, him trying to diffuse this whole situation, which was not justified. When we look at the next article, you will see that Ethan's murder was not justified. So let's talk about that, but let's keep listening.
Okay.
We don't know what to do.
What is your name?
My name is...
He said, we don't know what to do. So they are trying to get their friend help here. It is something for someone to pick up the phone and call 911. Obviously, he was afraid. Obviously, the way these murderers treated whoever these unknown murderers are, however they treated Ethan, these other boys were afraid of being treated the same way. And I know people will have their viewpoints and comments about Ethan's friends, but I tell you what, these all sound like scared young men, and they should not be blamed for Ethan's death. I believe the murderers should be blamed for Ethan's death. We don't know what to do, he said. Their names are being redacted. I'm not going to say their names in this video. I won't say their names. They're minors. I don't think vitriol should be placed on them. This is a horribly sad situation.
Okay, is there a fight happening there now?
Hey, man.
It's apparent that the 911 operator right there very astutely asked him, is there a fight going on right now? She could hear what was going on in the background. And you can hear the young man apologizing to whoever these murderers are. You can hear them still in attack mode. And you can hear the guy apologizing. We're sorry, man. We didn't mean it.
We're sorry, man. We didn't mean it. Sorry, what was that?
Is there a fight going on?
There was.
Is there a fight going on? There was. Then you hear kind of in the background some guy saying something maybe about a door, and another guy, the other kid, Ethan's other friend, saying, my fault. So they're just trying to say, look, cool out. Okay, calm down.
Okay, are the other people still there?
Yeah, it's all good. It's okay, though. It's cool now. It's cool now.
I just hear the fear in his voice. She said, are the other people still there? And he's saying, yeah, it's okay. It's cool now. It's cool now. It's almost like he was calling those things that be not as though they were. It's how he wanted things to be. It's almost like he's talking to her and he's talking to the guy. He's saying, look, it's cool now. It's cool now. Look, like, just calm down. There was nothing that Ethan or anyone did that warranted him being beat to death right there on the ground and left that way.
Okay, is your friend unconscious?
Yeah.
So she asked, okay, is your friend unconscious? Yeah, he answered. And some people don't even really know what it means. Like, he's passed out. I don't know what vantage point they still had of Ethan at that point, but they knew enough to know he was in a bad way and he was knocked out. They knew Ethan was knocked out. They might not have known the extent of his injuries at that point, or they were just terrified because these guys who apparently, allegedly stomped Ethan were coming after them, and they're trying to get help.
Is he breathing?
Is he breathing? Yeah, he's breathing. He's breathing.
Now, I don't know how they knew this. If they were in the car at that point, I don't know how they knew if he was breathing. If they were in the car and not standing right near Ethan to, literally see his chest rising and falling, or feeling breath coming from his mouth or nose. I don't know if they would know for sure if he was breathing. Maybe they're just like movie watchers. The way they just said that our friend just got knocked out. It reminds you of that Friday line, oh, you just got knocked the F out. And where it was a big joke in that movie. And you see someone get knocked out hard, hit the ground. In the movies, you might see them pop right up 5 minutes later. So this isn't the movies. I don't know if they knew the seriousness of Ethan's injuries.
Okay. Are you with him now?
Yeah.
How old is he?
Are you with him now? Yeah, he says. So he has divided attention because he's trying to make a call to 911, talk to the operator while you hear all this going on in the background. So he's being calm and stoic, but still fearful. On the one hand, he's trying to get help for his friend, but he's also trying to calm these guys down, and there's noise going on. So you can hear his friend trying to calm them down. He's trying to calm them down. I'm not sure. He's probably just around 17 like Ethan. Maybe this is his first time calling 911. The code of the streets where people are like, oh, snitches get stitches and all that stuff. And people may have a fear of calling 911, but they jumped over all those fears to get their friend help.
I'm not trying to fight though.
You hear that right there? I'm not trying to fight y'all. He's saying, look, even though some people may have wanted him to be Billy Bad Butt and, ooh, get out the car and everybody fight each other, and that wouldn't have been the solution. They did what they were supposed to do. They called 911 to get help there immediately for Ethan. I think help responded pretty quickly. We're going to listen to some dispatch as well. These boys can't take the guilt upon themselves. I know even people who weren't even there are already guilting themselves. You know, one kid is like, if I were there, I would have taken care of those guys. You don't know how far these murderers would have gone. If they didn't stop before killing Ethan, who knows how many others they would have killed. So no one can guilt themselves. You can't guilt Ethan's friends. You can't guilt people who weren't even there. Let's continue.
How old is
What was
he?
that? Okay.
How old is he? Hello?
He's 17.
There's still so much going on. You can't tell. Are they putting the car in gear? Are they just trying to I don't hear tires screeching. I just hear a lot of ruckus. How old is he? She has to ask several times. You hear the other kid saying, okay, or whatever. And he's kind of like, the caller's kind of like, I don't, It's like he can't hear because there's so much other stuff going on. He does get out the fact that Ethan is only 17. And I think this is where the call ends.
He's 17? Hello, are you still here? Hello?
So that's it. He's only 17. Hello, are you still here? And that call drops. I'm not sure if that's the only call that was made. Hello, are you still here? That's all you hear the operator saying, but at least he got out the pertinent info. He told them we are at I Promise School. They knew they're near the basketball courts. Hopefully they already had a unit on the way. When I listened to the dispatch, it says something about Med 3. I don't know if he relayed the urgency to the 911 dispatch, but I'm glad they made the call. Got them there, but unfortunately, Ethan didn't survive. So Ethan lost his life in the parking lot of the I Promise schools near the basketball court. According to the Summit County medical examiner, the manner of death is a homicide. They are calling Ethan's injuries severe. So police would only say that Liming and his friends were involved in a fight. With rumors floating around the city, we will see why this might end up being a little more controversial. Ethan reportedly died from blunt force head injury. So we don't know what caused that blunt force. Was it the force of his head hitting the ground, of fists or feet or whatever hitting his head? We don't have those details yet. Akron Public Schools did release a statement. They call Ethan's death, sadly, one of many experienced this year. Spoke about pausing from our daily pressures to be thankful for the lives of our children. An investigation into Ethan's death is happening as we speak. And we know that police immediately started trying to pull surveillance footage. From what I'm reading, they are currently going through surveillance footage. Immediately that night from the dispatch call, I heard them ask for, who's the I Promise property manager? Let's start rolling back this video. And I know they probably grabbed there's a McDonald's right there too. They probably grabbed that footage too, anything they could. Now I know it's dark, and I'm not sure from that vantage point what they can see, but I'm sure they will be able to find some kind of info about cars or who arrived on foot or who these guys are.
Med 3, 400, West Market Street. Med 3, 400, West Market Street, at I Promise School, Cross Street, Aqueduct Street, West North Street, and Oakdale Ave, Oakdale Court.
So according to Broadcastify, a call went out at 10:47 p.m. June 2nd. It sounds like she says Med 3. It gives the address, I Promise School, 400 West Market Street. This may have been the first dispatch going out.
400 West Market Street, at I Promise School, Cross Street, Aqueduct Street, West North Street, and Oakdale Ave, Court.
So you hear another second call going out. That automated call for help near basketball courts, 400 West Market Street. Broadcastify says this call went out about 10:52 p.m. So I'm not sure if that's standard just to send calls out.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any contact information for the I Promise School, of a property manager or something that could come out and try to roll some of these cameras back for us, but if we could try to get a hold of them.
At 10:53 p.m., just minutes later, before Ethan is pronounced dead, the officer is already asking, I don't know if you have the contact info for this I Promise property manager, but if we can roll some of these cameras back, in essence, let's look at this footage right away. So I hope they got a good look at the murderers. As of this recording, I haven't found info about anyone being in custody or arrested, but that doesn't mean cops aren't still really looking. They might have some good leads, we hope and pray, in Jesus' name. After that, cops come up with an interesting way to try and track down more info about the caller.
I haven't seen the caller back, and the caller's no longer on scene. We kind of need to get her info, see exactly what they saw. Copy.
Okay, so at approximately 11:10 or prior, this is when the officer is saying, caller's no longer on scene, we need to get her info. He says her, so I'm not sure if this is a different witness. I'm not sure who this is. I'm not sure how many 911 calls were made, but they want to get this person on scene to know what she saw. I'm assuming it's a her because that's what the cop says, but I'm not sure if he was just saying get her on scene, like get this person on scene. After that, there's more. They looked into Cash App, which was an interesting investigative tool. They pulled up a phone number, apparently of the caller, and they got a name that way of the caller. I looked up that same phone number, and that caller looks like they are no longer on Cash App. I don't blame people for wanting to kind of back away, because when emotions get so heated, of course, this is a tragedy, a tragic case. People's emotions run high. They want to know, why didn't you protect Ethan more? Or why did this happen? Why did that happen? I think what we could say is evil was present. And no matter what Ethan did, he did not deserve to die that way. The prayer is that he is in heaven, no more pain. I pray he gets justice. Before we close and touch on a few rumors, I want to close with Hebrews 12:2 through 3. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Again, police have not named any suspects, but they're calling their investigation very fluid. Akron spokesman Lieutenant Mike Miller talked a little bit about the best way he could categorize it is there was some horseplay prior to Ethan's death, but nothing that followed was remotely reasonable or justified. We're still going to talk about that next. Police have collected evidence, videos, everything, so they're still looking into that. I have a feeling they will catch these people, whoever they are. There was a fight with at least 3 other males in the parking lot who were already playing basketball at the school, apparently when Ethan and his friends arrived. Again, he died from blunt force head injury. Ethan Liming's father is actually a pastor. Bill is actually a lead pastor at the Montrose Zion United Methodist Church. Ethan's stepmom, Cindy, is actually head of the children's ministry. There have been vigils. At least 500 people attended one of them. Ethan was on the 2020 homecoming court. Very popular kid. There's donations being collected. Edgar's Restaurant here in Akron is collecting donations for Ethan. And please contact police if you know anything. Today is Tuesday, June 7th. And by now, both of Ethan's parents have spoken out. Ethan's dad, Bill, said that Ethan Liming was a beautiful boy. I don't want to say what they did to his face, so Bill makes it sound like Ethan was almost beaten unrecognizably. The Snapchat that had been sent that night was just Ethan trying to figure out what they wanted to do next that evening. According to Bill, Ethan was on Snapchat with his friends trying to figure out what they were going to do that night. Stopping at I Promise School was just kind of like a pit stop. He was hanging out with his friends. They weren't necessarily playing basketball that night. According to Bill, a couple of Ethan's friends got out of the car, but the killers ended up chasing them back to the car. Ethan and his other friends got out the car and they attacked Ethan. People have to know who they are, Bill says. Murdered at LeBron's school. That's exactly the words that Bill used. It is not safe. It is not secure. We know this is in direct response to the LeBron James Foundation saying our campus is safe and secure when they called for prayers and everything in response to this murder. But Ethan's dad is saying it was not a quick death. Nobody should have to suffer through what Ethan dealt with. We love our child, he said. He was not just some white kid hanging out downtown. That was his community of people people. Those were his friends. Bill said, we need somebody to help us as well. You know, he talked about how Ethan fed the homeless community. He went down to Shalom Farms with his dad. He was giving to people in Richmond, Virginia, who live in food deserts. Ethan helped put in a woman's driveway in Steubenville, Ohio. He loved people. Ethan wanted to become a lawyer to help fight for others. He was an honor student, an AP student. His dad called him a beautiful boy. And again, I don't want to say what they did to his face. By his dad saying those words, oh my goodness. His dad said, they destroyed my son. Bill did admit that Ethan and his friends would typically go to play basketball, but again, that night they just stopped there temporarily to figure out where they were going later. A couple of his friends got out the car, but whoever these other guys were already playing basketball decided they didn't like, I guess, the way Ethan and his friends were interacting. Those killers began attacking Ethan. The guys who attacked his son, there were several of them. Ethan fought for his life. Bill is calling on people with courage and a conscience to help their family. Again, murdered at the I Promise School. One thing that was sad to hear was that the I Promise School's cameras are grossly insufficient, which should not be, because oddly enough, as I record this, there's this NBC Universal movie being filmed right at St. Vincent St. Mary with a young LeBron showing up and huge cameras. I know that's a different world, that's the movie world, but you wish there were cameras sufficient enough at the I Promise School. I'm not sure how well lit it is at night, just to give this family some help to know what happened. Again, Ethan's dad just said they were teenagers being teens. He does not want to say too much. Of course, he does not want to impede the investigation, and neither do I. Ethan's dad said that Ethan's friends with him were fooling around in the parking lot and the other people didn't like it. Ethan and his other friend was in the car. Ethan got out and was telling the guys, relax, it's just a joke. That's when one person attacked Ethan. Another came up behind him and struck him in the head. He does not say what the guy used to strike Ethan in the head, but it sounds like that's where the blunt force trauma or injury came into play. His dad said it was not a single punch. Ethan was fighting for his life. That's what the cops told him. These guys overwhelmed Ethan. His friends tried to help him. They did not leave before they called 911. It was the killers who drove Ethan's friends away. And by drove, I don't think he means driving them away literally in a car, but like threatening them away. They actually chased one kid, and when they could not catch that boy who ran away, they came back and finished the job on Ethan. His dad did mention there was Ethan, there was another white child, and there were 2 black kids. That was the group of 4 boys that were friends. The 2 African-American young men tried to pick up Ethan and put him in the car. They did not leave him. They did not abandon them. Bill is trying to make sure that people around the city know Ethan's friends tried to help him, but the killers physically assaulted and beat the white child, and they wouldn't even let the African-American children put Ethan in the car to get him to safety. All of his friends tried to help Ethan, but nobody's talking in terms of witnesses or anyone who knows who these killers are. Bill and his wife Cindy are meeting so many good people. They were at the I Promise School today. They got a hug from some woman they don't even know. Bill spoke about there being way more good people than evil people in the world, and the guys who did attack Ethan were playing basketball. Ethan's mom was also interviewed in a heartbreaking interview. Ethan loved life. He didn't care about the color of his skin or money in his pocket. He was such a good person. He didn't deserve to die like that. I can't believe it, she said. Please help us find these people. She wakes up and she can't believe this is reality. She's searching for justice for Ethan. She said it's important to say something, please. If you see her video interview, and I will place links below, it is truly heartbreaking the way she cried and just spoke of her love of her son. And why would someone do this? Why would someone just think it's okay to kill a 17-year-old boy? I hope they find the perpetrators. The only rumor I will mention going around town, and I don't know if it's true or not, of course, so 100% speculation, take this with a grain of salt, is that a splat gun may have been involved. I had never heard of a splat gun. I guess it can contain water or gel type of bullets that can be painful, but we don't know if anyone really had one or if this is just a rumor going around. I don't know why that's not being mentioned, but no matter what was happening, if Ethan and his friends were just playing around, horsing around, teens being teens with each other, I don't see why any of the killers thought it was their business to get involved and come over and start harming Ethan and his friends. Again, we'll keep following this case. We'll keep it in prayer. Thank you for watching all of this. Stay tuned.